Roberta Laundrie has broken her silence on a letter she wrote to her son Brian Laundrie, which she claims is unrelated to Gabby Petito and was intended to improve the relationship. Her legal representatives filed a motion for a protective order in Sarasota County Circuit Court to prevent the letter, marked "Burn After Reading," from being used as evidence in the upcoming civil trial between the two families. According to Petito's parents' attorney, the letter contained references to a shovel, burying a body, and helping Brian escape from prison. Roberta's lawyers argued that the letter was written months before Gabby and Brian left on their cross-country road trip, and that it was obtained by the FBI as evidence prior to Brian's remains being discovered at the Carlton Reserve. Roberta also denies Reilly's claim that the letter was found in Brian's backpack. Reilly filed court documents in December 2022, seeking the letter during the discovery process for the upcoming trial. The Laundries maintained that the letter has nothing to do with Gabby Petito, and both sides confirmed that it is undated. The admissibility of the letter as evidence has yet to be determined, and a court hearing on the matter has not yet been scheduled. The civil jury trial is set to commence in July 2023. I, Roberta Laundrie, am a defendant in the above-styled cause, and I do hereby swear or affirm that I fully understand the meaning of all of the terms of this affidavit. I wrote the letter requested by plaintiff's second request for production. I wrote the letter to my son, Brian Laundrie, on or about the end of May 2021. Although I do not know the exact date I wrote the letter, I do know that I wrote it and gave it to Brian before Brian and Gabby left Florida for New York, which was on June 2nd, 2021. Brian and Gabby went from Florida to New York before they went out west. The purpose of the letter was to reach out to Brian while he and I were experiencing a difficult period in our relationship. Brian and I always had a very open and communicative relationship, and in the months prior to the trip, our relationship had become strained. Brian and I shared a love of stories, and some of the language in the letter was using similar phrases to describe the depths of a mother's love. The two books that come to mind are The Runaway Bunny and Little Bear. In addition, Gabby had given Brian a book called Burn After Writing, which contains printed questions to which the reader responds by writing their answers on the page. The back of the book instructs the reader to create a secret book and then destroy by burn after writing. The bottom of the back cover says write, burn, repeat. Brian, Gabby, and I often joked about this book and the importance of being able to express yourself. If you were embarrassed or simply did not want anyone to know your thoughts or feelings, then the book offered the perfect solution by telling you to burn it. This is where my message to Brian came from, and I wrote on the cover of the letter for Brian to burn after reading. In short, I was trying to connect with Brian and repair our relationship as he was planning to leave home, and I had hoped this letter would remind him how much I loved him. There were some other phrases that I used in the letter which are not found in the books I shared with Brian as a child. However, these phrases were common enough in our circle of friends and family to describe who you could turn to in the most troubling times of your life. While I used words that seemed to have a connection with Brian's actions and his taking of Gabby's life, I never would have fathomed the events that unfolded months later between Brian and Gabby would reflect the words in my letter. The words in the letter could never have been a comment on that tragic situation, as they were written so many months before. My words to Brian were meant to convey my love and support for my son through a light-hearted and quirky reminder that my love for him was not diminished and could not be shaken by the miles of separation we would soon be faced with. Although a few of the words in the letter are being quoted by others as having a connection to this case, all of the words taken together and in the context of the reason the letter was written show that there is no connection. In addition, there has been some speculation that this letter was in Brian's possession or is in his backpack when he died, insinuating that I gave it to him as he left my home on September 13th, 2021. But that is not true because the FBI had the letter in their possession and questioned members of my family about it prior to October 20th, 2021, when my husband and I found Brian's remains in the reserve. But that is not true because the FBI had the letter in their possession and questioned members of my family about it prior to October. I repeat that the letter I wrote to Brian before he left with Gabby for their fateful trip was nothing more than a private communication between myself and my son, and I never expected anyone else would read it. In some way, I did not want anyone else to read it, as I know it is not the type of letter a mother writes to her adult son, and I did not want to embarrass Brian. That is why I wrote "burn after reading" on the envelope, and I knew that Brian would know what that meant. I am now appreciative that he actually kept it. Signed, Roberta Laundrie. That is why I wrote "burn after reading" on the envelope, and I knew that Brian would know what that meant. I am now appreciative.